She's beautiful, sexy, and a chip off the old block.
I've seen a few little moves that remind me of her father. Laila has her father's commanding presence and charm.
But for boxer Laila Ali, life as Muhammad Ali's eighth child has been no easy fight.
What I have a problem with is someone saying, Laila Ali is using her father's name.
Laila's teenage years were filled with a rebellion that landed her behind bars.
The first thing you have to do when you go to jail is strip down naked.
But it was there that she would discover how strong her spirit was.
She sort of got in the driver's seat and took control of herself and her life.
And later she would emerge to make the world of boxing her very own.
I think that she's done a terrific job of standing up on her own 2 feet.
Critics say she'll never crawl out from under her father's shadow.
She could carve out frontiers never before envisioned for any woman fighter, and she's still going to be the daughter of Muhammad Ali.
But the daughter of the champ vows she'll never stop fighting. This is Lifetime's intimate portrait of Laila Ali. Lifetime's Intimate Portrait, hosted by Meredith Vieira.
I'm Meredith Vieira. Welcome to the new season premiere of Lifetime's Intimate Portrait, Laila Ali. This is her story, her words. Can you imagine what it's like to grow up as a shy girl when your father is flamboyant boxing legend Muhammad Ali? It has to be tough. And when Laila Ali announced she was going into her dad's profession, the going got tougher. Laila was accused of cashing in on her famous name, but it didn't faze her. She'd already faced tougher challenges. Before she ever got in the ring, Laila sometimes seemed to be almost down for the count. But as you'll see, she was never out. It's a knockout story. Laila Ali.
She may only be in her 20s, but Laila Ali has spent most of her life fighting to be her own person. Like a lot of women, she's done it through sheer determination, and in her case, more than the usual number of hard knocks. She spent her teenage years trying to get out from under her famous dad's shadow.
It's like, oh, that's Muhammad Ali's daughter. They're automatically going to come up with assumptions and form opinions, and, a lot of times their opinions and their assumptions just didn't add up to me.
And now that Laila Ali has followed her father's footsteps into the ring, she must fight that fight all over again.
I think what pisses me off the most is when people still ask me about living off my father's name. Or is this just a publicity stunt? Or do you really like to box? And it's like, why would I do it? Boxing is not an easy thing.
Bang, 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 bang. Yeah.
How did this 5'10" beauty find herself in the competitive world of women's boxing?
Double up.
Laila Ali's story begins on December 30th, 1977 in Los Angeles, California. She was the last of 8 children born to heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali. Her mother, Veronica Porce Ali, was an ex-model who the press referred to as the most beautiful woman in the world. At the time of Laila's birth, her parents were swimming in celebrity, and her father was still considered king of the ring.
I don't remember the instant moment that I actually realized how famous my father was. I just always knew that people loved my dad, and it would just light anybody's face up to see my dad.
The Ali house was always full of celebrities, and Laila and her sister Hannah spent their tender years rubbing elbows with some of the biggest names in show business.
I mean, Michael Jackson would come over to the house, and Stevie Wonder, all the people of that day that were very famous, and they were just people. I kind of ran around the house screaming, Laila and I, Michael Jackson's there. We were excited back then, but everyone else was just, was everyday life for us.
The girls had so much fun. They loved their father. They'd both call up on his lap. It was really lovely.
But her father's fame made Laila uncomfortable and drove a wedge between them.
I tried to distance myself from my father a little bit because he always had so many people around, and, whenever you're around my dad, you're on stage with him because everybody's watching you. And I didn't always like the attention being on me.
Laila and her sister Hannah couldn't have been more different. Hannah was outspoken. Laila was painfully shy.
Hannah was very talkative. Laila was quiet. I think Laila was probably quietly internalizing and observing everything around her, unbeknownst to all of us, and preparing herself.
Hannah, Layla's older sister, was the dominant one. And she was the one that I thought never came. Very energetic, wanted all the attention. Layla was very, very sweet. More in the background because Hannah would aggressively take front center, usually, especially in her father's lap.
In the mid-1980s, the Ali's marriage began to show signs of strain. The champion fighter, known for his control in the ring, was overly controlling at home.
He didn't like me talking to anybody, men or women. He did not like me having friends. I mean, I did have some, but he would have preferred if I had none, literally.
So in 1985, Veronica decided to leave her famous husband. For Hannah, Muhammad's absence was devastating. But for Laila, it meant more intimate times with Mom.
At first, we lived in a mansion, in a private setting. You had to go through the guard to get to the house. There's so many rooms, 4 floors, people over all the time, cooks, nannies, housekeepers. But now it's kind of just us, just my mother, my sister, and I, in a smaller house, and our 2 dogs, a 4-bedroom room. We still had a nice sized house. But we were in the same neighborhood when my parents first divorced, and, I still have my same friends. So it wasn't that bad of a transition. I actually liked the closeness of, my mom's room right, next door to mine.
Laila made it through her parents' divorce seemingly intact, but a desire to protect her mother brought out an aggressive side.
My mom was a grown woman. I can't protect her, but I felt that way at the time. We were out in public. There was always men, looking at my mom and trying to talk to my mom. So I was always like, don't talk to my mom.
And as she entered her teen years, that aggression grew into anger.
The adjustment for any child in divorce is devastating. Going into a smaller home by choice and having a relatively different lifestyle, they seem to land on their feet in spite of what went on. But there were changes. There were changes.
Yeah, I think that there probably is some anger. I have a lot of pride, always did, and sometimes as a child, when people would test you, you would feel like you had to stand up for you. I felt like I had to stand up for myself because of the type of personality that I had. So I felt like if I didn't respond, then it would make me seem weak.
Then in 1991, Veronica decided to move the family to Malibu Beach. It was a move that made Laila feel isolated and alone.
Well, Malibu is just so secluded. You have to go up a hill to get your house. You can't just walk down the street to the store. There's no sidewalks. There's no street lights. I didn't like surfing. I didn't need a tan, so being in Malibu was just not the place for me. And it was just, everyone knew each other. It was small, it's predominantly white.
Living in a strange new neighborhood away from her friends and her old life, Laila began to rebel.
You have to understand, I used to live around the corner from my best friends. I could walk to their house. It was 2 blocks away. But when I moved to Malibu, they just weren't around the corner. It's like if I needed to go anywhere, it's like Mom had to drive me. I didn't like that. She bought a car, an old car, for $500, and she hid it at one of her friends. And when she went into the city, she would drive it.
And for some reason, it didn't dawn on us right away, but eventually it set in that Layla's not old enough to drive. And how is she getting into the city frequently? And what is she doing here all the time?
She'd find a record screen, she'd find, hang out with guys, I really don't know what brought that on. But that is true. She would do that. She wasn't looking for trouble. She wasn't, burglarizing, vandalizing, or anything like that. But I think that she was rebelling against something.
Laila was rebelling against everything, including her father and his choice of religion.
I pretty much told my dad that, I didn't want to be Muslim and that I wasn't Muslim, and it was kind of like, you know, what's wrong with you? You're just like your mother. And then from then on, anything I did was because I wasn't Muslim. I made a very big statement because, for one, my father is one of those men that feels like, when a man's talking, a woman should listen. One of the beliefs of Islam is that you dress properly, you cover yourself. Layla would come over in little shorts, she would rebel. Being that they're both Capricorns, you think they'd understand each other a little better.
Just when Laila felt she had emancipated herself from her father, Veronica remarried. Carl Anderson soon found out how challenging his 14-year-old stepdaughter could be.
Layla's first directive to me was, I got a daddy. I don't want nobody telling me what to do. You got that? I said, okay. I got that.
We bumped heads a lot because I saw him as this man who had moved into my house and moved in on my mom, and they didn't know each other long enough for me. So it was just like, what's going on here?
Despite the problems, Veronica still trusted Laila and left the teenager to her own devices.
I woke myself up. I went to school when I wanted to go to school. If I wanted to be home absent, I could be home absent. My mom didn't make me go to school. That's how my mom was too lenient, and it wasn't good.
Before long, Veronica's passive parenting skills backfired. In 1994, Laila was arrested for shoplifting a tank top from a local department store. The arrest ended in probation, but instead of cleaning up her act, Laila continued to get into trouble.
I was changing schools. My grades were going up and down. Wasn't doing too great. So the judge did not see that in a positive way. So he said, you know what? This girl's going down the wrong path.
To Laila's amazement, the judge sentenced her to 3 months in juvenile hall. Both mother and daughter were devastated.
I looked back at my mom, and she's crying, and I'm crying, and they just came and took me. I can't say anything to my mother. I can't talk to my mother. That's it. I'm taken away. So you just feel really alone.
Next on Lifetime's Intimate Portrait, Laila secretly enters the family business.
I just went down to the gym, got a trainer, and said, I want to box, and I don't want you to tell anybody.
And later, she meets a man, but it's not love at first sight.
So many obnoxious jerks.
Portrait of Laila Ali. As the daughter of heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali, Laila Ali had grown up in the lap of luxury. But after her parents' divorce in 1986, Laila's behavior became more and more rebellious. By the age of 16, she was in juvenile hall. It was here that the champ's defiant daughter got her first real taste of humility.
It was hell going through that. I mean, the first 3 weeks were the worst. Because first thing you have to do when you go to jail is strip down naked, in front of everybody. It's juvenile hall. It's not like a regular jail. It's like one big room with cots. And it's like stripped. I know that she hated it there. It was extremely uncomfortable. I could see her more as the little girl again. I could see that part of her showing more, even though she wasn't, actually behaving in any particular way, but I could feel it.
But unfortunately for Laila, her dad wasn't there to see it. Fame once again got in between father and daughter.
I think the reason that he did not come was he was concerned about them making more of a big deal out of it with publicity, because as a juvenile, it's taken off your record. And Layla's the one who decided, she didn't have to tell anyone. She didn't want to, and no one would have ever known. But that's Layla. She's very honest. I didn't really have much contact with my father through the whole situation. My dad never came to visit me when I was in juvenile hall. I never spoke to my father. So I didn't really know how my father was taking it. I think I might have asked my sister a couple times. She said he knows, and, he's sad. And she'll learn from it.
After 2.5 months, Laila was released from juvenile hall. But she had to face one more hurdle before the judge would allow her to return home.
The judge knew, just from questioning my mom, just from talking to me, and just from seeing my attendance records and my grades and the concern level of my mother, that my mother was very lenient, and he felt like she wasn't really taking care of what I needed her to for me as a child. So he decided that he didn't think I should go home. He thinks I should go to a group home.
It was a move that had an unexpectedly beneficial impact on Laila's life.
During the time that I was there, I really got to know different girls, different backgrounds, just opening up and listening to them and becoming friends with them, living with them, just made me open up and made me show that, it showed me that other people can help me too.
She became a leader there. She's very smart. So when her smarts became directed, started being directed at something constructive, it was something to behold.
After 6 months in a group home, Laila returned to her family. Almost immediately, she announced plans to finish high school and start her own nail salon.
I never said, oh, I want to be a manicurist when I grow up. It's like, how am I going to go to school full time, live on my own, and also afford to pay my bills?
When Laila made the statement about I'm starting my business, I'm moving out, I'm going to college, she just did it.
Finally, Laila was emerging from under her famous father's shadow.
So she was a businesswoman in her last 6 months of high school. I mean, a good businesswoman. And a little girl who wouldn't talk to white people a year ago, or 2 years ago, had a 95% white clientele at her salon.
My business was very successful because I had a very good service and people liked me. And most of my clients didn't know who my father was, didn't know anything as far as my background was concerned.
By 1996, 18-year-old Laila had turned her life around, yet she still had a rebellious energy she needed to channel. One night, she turned on the television and saw a woman's boxing match. Something inside of her clicked.
When I saw those two women, I was just so surprised. And I'm such an aggressive, competitive, tough person. And fighting to me was just seemed like it would just be so natural. And I've always been proud of how strong I am. You know what I mean? So that was just something that I just automatically was like, I'm stronger than they are. Oh, I could do this. I could do it.
Laila's desire to fight was beginning just as her father's career as the greatest boxer of all time was being closely examined. Many claimed that his years in the ring had taken their toll, and by 1984, he'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Knowing her decision to box would be controversial, Laila decided to keep it to herself.
I started training. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't ask anybody for help. I just went down to the gym, got a trainer, and said, I want to box, and I liked the feeling instantly. And I kept going.
After 3 months of serious training, Laila broke the news to her father. At first, he tried to talk her out of it.
My dad was like, are you sure that's what you want to do? It's hard. And by the end of the conversation, he was standing up, throwing punches at me and shadowboxing with me and wanting to see what I got, and laughing and crying because he sees his daughter boxing. And I think that it sparked a feeling in him, like this is me.
When word got out that Muhammad Ali's daughter was boxing, it sparked a media frenzy. Sports writers accused Laila of using her family name to make money. That only pushed her to train harder.
I get up, I run every morning, 4 to 5 miles. Then I go to the gym.
In the meantime, her sister Hannah met someone she knew was just right for Laila. Johnny Yaya McLean was an ex-prize fighter who was as feisty as her outspoken sister.
My sister Hannah knew him as an acquaintance. And she invited him to my father's 57th birthday, which was in Vegas. And I invited him to the dinner. And, I said, take your pick. I think you're going to like Laila. And sure enough, who did he point at? He pointed to Laila.
Laila was sitting at the bar in the room. And I said, Hannah, who's that? And she said, it's my sister. I was like, yeah, right. She said, it's my younger sister. I said, for real?
I wasn't really attracted to him at first because I thought he was too handsome, and I thought that he acted like he knew he was handsome. And he also was a friend of Hannah's, which I could never, ever, ever, ever hook up with because me and my sister were so not on the same page.
Although Yaya was crazy for Laila, Laila wasn't fully convinced about her feelings for him.
Oh, I thought he was an obnoxious fool. And those are the only words that can describe that I can say on television. Because I remember him ordering coffee and the waitress coming over saying, well, how do you like your coffee?
Like I like my women, light and sweet.
And I must have just said, no, he didn't just say that.
She called me an obnoxious jerk, I think. Yeah. It's all right. She couldn't get past that smile.
Getting past the smile was one thing. A larger obstacle remained. Like Layla's father, Yahya was a Muslim.
And I was like, oh, no. No, because just because of the way that I grew up and what I've been through as far as Muslim religion, the one thing that saves the relationship is that he is not like a full force practicing Muslim.
She was really hard on him. And then all of a sudden, that she would do anything for him. This little girl who was always a woman taking care of everyone else, and all of a sudden became, here is my life, take it, and I trust you to do what's the cool thing.
Next on Lifetime's Intimate Portrait, Layla prepares for the boxing ring.
I remember having this real fear that Layla was going to hurt somebody.
And later, Layla prepares for the wedding ring.
And then I said, look, when you can get me a 3-carat ring, that's when you ask me to marry you.
Being the daughter of the world's greatest boxer was tough for Laila Ali. After her parents split up, she struggled for years with feelings of anger and rebelliousness.
I think that for people growing up in the shadow of a parent or someone else that they're always compared to or always asked about, sometimes that can be an extra challenge.
But by the time she turned 20, Layla started to come into her own.
She learned how to get in control and get in control of herself and what she felt, and learned how not to act out always, and how sometimes you need to find other ways to let your husband get out. And she was still working with those demons, whatever they were. But they weren't in control of her anymore. She sort of got in the driver's seat and took control of herself and her life.
And part of that control came with learning to depend on others. After meeting at a party for her father, Layla and professional boxer Yahya McClain began to date. Then Layla told Yahya of her dream to become a fighter.
Actually, it took me a while to go to the gym to see her because, you know, the whole thing, oh, this is Ali's daughter fighting, you know. It was like kind of cute to me.
He didn't realize how serious I was about it, and then we started dating, and it was kind of like, well, we can't hook up till after I'm done at the gym. He saw that I was going to work, going to the gym, and I was really putting this time in.
And I said, well, let me see what she's doing. I went to the gym, and I saw her training, and I wasn't impressed with what I was seeing, what I saw that she was being taught. You know, she's tall, she has long arms, she's rangy, and I wasn't seeing that being taught to her. I was seeing her being taught to be more of a brawler, an inside fighter, and, you know, you take lumps and bruises that way, and there's no longevity in your career that way.
As a former champion himself, Yahya knew how tough it was to survive in the ring. He realized Layla needed all the help she could get.
My last fight, the guy came real close to hitting me, and I could feel his power. And I was like, you know, I just don't feel like doing this anymore. And so I made up my mind right then that I wasn't going to fight anymore, because what I really wanted to do was to be a boxing promoter, a trainer, manager, some facet of the boxing industry, but on the, you know, the inside. And I realized that this was a golden opportunity for me to be in the business the way I wanted to be and to have a hot commodity.
But if Layla was going to be a hot commodity, Yahya knew she needed a new trainer. He introduced her to Dub Huntley, a veteran with decades of experience.
Dub is a sweetie pie. Dub is a very good trainer. He's a very kind, honest, supportive person. And it's like, I know I can trust him. And it's great to have a team that you know we're all on the same page. And it's like, there's so many unspoken rules, you know, between us that I don't have a problem. Because I mean, he's so close to me. He's in the dressing room with me. He knows what I'm thinking. He knows what I'm feeling.
With her team in place, Layla was ready to face her father's boxing legacy head on.
Of course it's difficult to establish your own identity in anything. I mean, being an Ali, anything she wanted to do, a corporate executive, everything, that would swallow her. And she would be judged and looked at differently.
I'm always going to be the daughter of Muhammad Ali, which I have no problem with. What I have a problem with is someone saying, you know, Laila Ali is using her father's name, because a name can only take you so far.
After a year of training 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, Laila was ready for her first fight against opponent April Fowler. In 30 seconds, it was all over.
You know, she came out wild, and I just controlled her with my jab, and as soon as I dropped my right hand, I knocked her out.
Laila was the official winner, but she was frustrated.
I got in this great shape and pumped myself up, and that was it. And I was mad because I was like, this is who you got for me to fight?
Laila had every right to be upset. The press called the fight a joke.
You know, I could fight the world champion for my first fight and beat her. But I'm going to be all beat up and have a black eye and a busted nose because my defense wasn't good yet.
But Laila was also scrutinized for her posturing at the end of the fight. Some observers called it reminiscent of what her dad had done when he knocked out Sonny Liston in 1964. In that fight, Muhammad Ali stood over Liston and screamed, "Get up, get up."
I mean, Laila screams, get up to April Fowler. She's consciously drawing on her father's past and establishing that lineage for the audience's benefit to underline the fact that she's Muhammad Ali's daughter.
There's no room in my mind for that when I was fighting. I mean, come on. Oh, wait, let me make sure I do what my dad did. I mean, I wouldn't even have been able to tell you which fight he did that or even remember that he did it until I saw someone write an article and put the pictures next to each other. It was just not something that I thought of, you know? It's just a feeling that I had right then.
The furor over her first fight made Laila realize that being a boxer meant more than just being in shape. To most of the world, women's boxing wasn't a serious sport, and Laila wasn't considered a contender, just a name.
I think that the male chauvinist, insecure men that say women shouldn't fight and have so many negative things to say and talk about the way women fight are just that. The insecure men that don't want to see a woman excel at something that they couldn't do. So that's why they have all these negative things to say, and you know who you are, all you sports writers.
You know, I could just say, you know what? To heck with it. I'm tired of all this drama. I'm tired of hearing people being ungrateful and saying that I'm bad for women's boxing and they don't respect me. Well, I'm just going to quit. And then they'd be like, oh, you know, that's sad. That just showed, you know, that she really wasn't a strong person.
But instead of quitting, Laila trained harder. 1 month later, she got back in the ring with Shadina Pennybaker, a 5'4" boxer from Philadelphia. Despite the height difference, Pennybaker gave Laila a run for her money.
I'm very focused when I fight. So there's no nervousness, no jitters. It's all about this is it. And I think that is like one of my greatest assets, you know, because I'm so focused and I'm so sure that I'm going to win.
Laila won the fight with a technical knockout. And 7 days later, she was knocked out when Yaya asked her to marry him.
It was a surprise to her when I was going to give her the ring, but she knew she was getting it. I mean, we discussed it already. When she won with me when we picked it out. And so, because she had to go with me, because Laila is very, very picky. There's no way I was going to buy a ring and I'm going to be all excited and give it to her, and then she's going to be like, what is this? I don't like this. So I took the easy route. I took her with me, let her pick it out, and I bought it.
When we were talking about getting married and everything, I said, look, when you can get me a 3-carat ring, that's when you asked me to marry you. And I didn't think it was going to be anytime soon. So when he got the ring, it was time.
Next on Lifetime's Intimate Portrait, father and daughter joined together on a magical day.
Oh, it was so nice watching my dad come down the aisle. He was so cute. You know, he just walking down the aisle, proud, his youngest daughter getting married.
And later, another Ali fights another Frazier.
You want to feel it right now? You want to feel it right now? Because I can get you right now, but I guess that wouldn't be appropriate.
Of Laila Ali. By the age of 21, Laila Ali resembled her father in more ways than she ever imagined. Like him, she was headstrong and rebellious, and also like him, she had become a professional boxer.
Boxing is not just fighting, going in the ring and fighting. To some people it is, but it wasn't to me. Just watching my dad, I have certain standards. But to do things right, technically, you know, it takes a lot of time and concentration and a lot of frustration comes out of it because you want to get it right and you can't. It's like, because I want it 100% right. You You know what I mean? I don't want it half-assed.
Laila's intensity in the ring and her beauty outside of it were putting the shy young woman on the fast track to fame. Soon, endorsements were coming in from huge companies like Dr. Pepper.
Laila is the bomb, I'm telling you. Laila doesn't like a lot of attention. She doesn't like the camera. You can't tell, though. When she's in front of the camera, it's time to turn it on, and she does photo shoots, and it's all like, she could be like this. And then it's time to take a picture.
It's my pleasure to introduce boxing's newest sensation, Laila Ali.
Suddenly, Laila was showing up everywhere and making a strong impact on women. In October 2000, Glamour magazine asked Laila to present Karenna Gore Schiff, the vice president's daughter, with their Women of the Year award.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Laila Ali, who is one of the most glamorous people I can possibly think of. And well, Glamour gave each recipient the opportunity to choose the person that presented the award to them. I saw an interview with Laila, and I just was very impressed by how strong and centered and confident she was. She's obviously a beautiful woman, and she struck me as someone that the audience at the Glamour Awards should hear from.
Laila Ali really is an example of a woman who's glamorous on the inside and on the outside. She's got tremendous gumption. She's got confidence. I mean, she's mesmerizing through her personality as well as through the fact that she happens to be a very beautiful, feminine woman.
She was an overnight sensation, but despite her growing celebrity, Laila stayed level-headed.
I think anyone who's in the public eye and their business is out there and every move you make is being watched, I think that you're automatically a role model. I think that it's very important for me also as a black woman to represent myself a certain way, you know, because there aren't as many black celebrities, athletes, actors, models, whatever.
I think Laila is an inspiration and a role model to women because of the way she's handled herself with such grace, such dignity, and she's entered such a boys' club and a man's world.
Laila's goal was to take the sport of women's boxing to another level.
My husband's a two-time world champion. My trainer has trained world champions. So the standards are very high in my team, and the expectations are very high, and it's like we fine-tune everything. And I have expectations for myself, a certain way that I want to look, a certain way that I want to be. And, you know, when people see me fight, I don't think that they think, oh, look, there's a woman in the ring.
But it has to be more than just cute. It's a very dangerous sport. And there are some women out there that are brutal. They are tough, you know, and they're all coming for Laila, and they're all trained twice as hard as they would for any other fight when they find out that they're fighting Laila Ali.
One such fighter was Karen Bill. Unlike Laila, Karen had been an athlete all her life, and she was known in the boxing world as a tough competitor. So when the two met face-to-face in April 2000, Karen literally brought Laila down to earth.
She got knocked down. I left the corner, and I'm yelling, Laila! I'm screaming to her. It's like almost like a Rocky movie. I mean,
And just like Rocky, Laila came back to win the fight.
I know she thought she hurt me, even though she didn't, because of her inexperience. She thought just because I fell, I was hurt. So she tried to come jump on me, and that's when she really got a butt whooping, because I wasn't hurt. And that's when the fight turned around. Because of my inexperience, the first thing I had to do was felt like I had to show her that she didn't hurt me, and I had to show her that I'm still going to whoop her butt. So I stopped boxing, and I started fighting. And I got hit a lot more. I ended up with 2 black eyes after the fight, but I still won the fight. That's all that matters.
By the end of the summer, with 5 wins under her belt, Laila took time out to focus on her personal life. She and Yahya made elaborate plans to get married. On August 27, 2000, with 265 people looking on, a father and daughter came together for a moment they'd never forget.
When my dad walked me down the aisle and his hand is shaking, and when he gets nervous, he shakes even more. He was so nervous. You know, he was like a big weight on my arm. It's like I was dragging him down the aisle. And I wasn't like embarrassed or feel bad because all these people are looking at my dad, because my dad has accepted what he has. He doesn't feel bad for himself. He doesn't try to hide it.
But not everyone was focused on the bride's famous father.
The fact that Muhammad was there and he was walking down the aisle isn't what did it for me. It was just seeing my wife, just that beautiful, coming to marry me. I was happy. I was like, this is the time. Yeah, that's my wife. Come on, baby, let's do this, you know?
Like,
But we were like in our own world. It was kind of uncomfortable for me at first because I was crying in front of all these people, and that's like a no-no for me. And, you know, but then I said, you know, I'm going to let it go. It's my day.
and part of making sure that her day was just right, Laila took charge of the guest list. The Boxer bride's wedding wasn't populated by celebrities, but only by the people who were nearest and dearest.
They had it at the Ritz-Carlton in Pasadena in a gorgeous room, and the dinner afterward was in a gorgeous room. She invited her good friends from, like, say, school, people that she really cared about, family. I think a lot of people were surprised because a lot of people thought they were going to a celebrity event and probably were a little let down that there weren't any celebrities there. It was a private wedding, family and friends. And I think that's what it would always be. Because I'm just not Hollywood. That's not me.
My wedding was beautiful. It was beautiful. You know, Laila is like my best friend that a man could ever dream of, you know. So she brings out the best of me in every kind of way. And it's like my wedding was just the happiest day of my life, you know. It was beautiful. I had my family there. I only had my two brothers in the wedding. Everything was perfect. It was beautiful.
After the wedding, Laila learned that her father's shadow had followed her yet again. Jackie Frazier lied, the daughter of Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali's most hated opponent, announced that she wanted to enter the ring.
When Laila Ali came out boxing, I said, oh, wow, you know, I can deal with that. I can kick her butt.
To sports fans, it felt like history was getting ready to repeat itself. Almost 3 decades earlier, the fights between Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali made headline news. Their fights would be the most challenging in their careers, but they would also leave a bitter taste in the mouths of both fighters.
I think that their history together is laced with poetry, with irony, with bitter recrimination, with deep and heartfelt respect, and it would be impossible for all of those forces to be brought together into something harmonious and copacetic. It bubbles with conflict even to this day.
If Joe Frazier whoops me, I'm getting on my hands on my knees, I crawl across the ring, look up to you, say, you're the captain.
And the spirit of that conflict reared its ugly head when, a generation later, Jackie Frazier was seeking revenge and Laila was her target.
She's 39 years old. I'm 23. She was around for all that. She was a teenager. I wasn't. So I don't care about the rivalry. I don't care about what went on between my father and him. My dad doesn't have an issue with it anymore. Her dad does. Her whole family does, you know, because they were on the short end of the stick. You know, my dad was the one doing all the clowning and doing all the embarrassing, and, you know, it was like embarrassment for their family, I think, and just going to school and hearing kids teasing her about, you know, your dad's ignorant and your dad's a gorilla. So I think that it probably really is an emotional thing for her.
Coming up next on Lifetime's Intimate Portrait, it's Ali versus Frazier again.
Fighting out of the red corner, wearing black trunks, silver trim, the undefeated Laila. She be singing Ali.
Intimate Portrait of Laila Ali. By the spring of 2001, Laila Ali was on the road to becoming a champion, just like her father. But there were still old scores to settle. Joe Frazier's daughter, Jackie, challenged Laila to a boxing match.
I gave her a love tap when I came in, and she was all upset about that.
And Laila agreed to meet her opponent face-to-face on The Early Show with host Bryant Gumbel.
The Ali family, I'm very good friends with her sister, who she doesn't seem to get along with reportedly.
Jackie's a fool and doesn't know how to act. Because I just want to hurry and get it over with. It's what the people want to see. You know, the two names is like going to draw attention, but when it comes to the actual fight.
The fight was scheduled for June 8, 2001. But Layla's battle began before she stepped in the ring. She wanted her fight with Jackie to prove that women's boxing was a legitimate sport.
I need to look like an athlete. I need to look like I have experience. I need to look like I've been working hard. I'm going to represent women's boxing. You know, I want to make sure that I represent it well. 10 years from now, women's boxing will be on a whole nother level, you know, and I'll be one of the people that helped it to get there.
On June 8th, the fighters got ready to battle it out. As fans poured in to cheer on the women, the air was charged with excitement and anticipation.
We love her. We can't wait to see her knock out Jackie Frazier.
I'd like to see Frazier take Ali. I got it for Ali.
I want to see Ali kick Frazier's butt. After seeing their biceps, makes me want to go into boxing. But I'm all for Frazier.
I think Ali's going to kick some ass.
Laila Ali is legitimate. I can hardly wait till the granddaughter. Ali Frazier 5.
Ali Frazier 19.
He's going to finally put a closure to the whole Frazier career. They can go on and close the book because they're going to get their butt whooped, their money took, and their name written in the closed book.
Finally, it was time for both fighters to show their stuff. The fight thrilled the audience as Laila and Jackie Frazier battled it out for 8 rounds. In the end, Laila did not knock out Jackie Frazier as many had predicted, but the judges awarded her the fight. And boxing fans from both sides had nothing but praise for the young boxer.
Great fight. Wanted Frazier, but Ali was great.
It was an excellent event. I want to, you know, get buffed up. Maybe I can get in the ring.
No way can you pick one over the other. Those two women fought a great fight.
I'm coming back for the rematch because Layla's going to knock her out this time for the rematch.
Great. Better than the men, and I think all women should fight more.
The following day, the press agreed that Laila had shown real talent. She had fought hard to win respect and succeeded. At last, Laila Ali had emerged from the shadow of her father to become her own woman.
I know that I have one life to live. Everybody has their own. And mine is my own unique life, and only I can live it. And that everybody's going to have an opinion. Everybody's going to say you should do this and you should do that. And the only person I can listen to is myself. Because I'd rather just listen to what I feel and what's in my heart. And whatever I end up doing wrong or regretting, I want it to be something that I chose to do, not because I listened to somebody else. You know, and I'm going to take into consideration what those around me who I love and respect feel. But other people who don't know me, don't love me, don't really care where I end up tomorrow, just have an opinion today, those are people that can kiss my you-know-what.
Layla's fire and strength of character in the face of tremendous pressure are undeniable. Imagine having to live up to a legend. One thing's clear, whatever path Layla's career takes, she's creating a brand new legacy. And when future generations of sports fans hear the name Ali, it's a good bet the first name they think of is Laila.